Under the same roof, we share the love. Embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world share in love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Watching the World. We're watching major developments unfold throughout the entire world, but we have a huge arrest tied to Benghazi. Remember what happened around 2012 that put Hillary Clinton on the hot seat? Also, American warships pulling up to Haiti. What is that all about? And thousands of Haitians across the United States have such uncertainty about their future. In fact, we're going to look at how some of them have been denied to get their driver's license, especially when it comes to getting a renewal. Well, today at Watching the World, we're going to get to each of these stories. Thank you to the 68,000 people that tuned in last night. It's so nice to have so many people, especially with us having Mama Flips in the house as well. But hit the like button, share, and subscribe. These are the moments in the show that really counts the most when it comes to likes and sharing and subscribing. New Jersey in the building. Shout out to you. That's my cousin, folks. It's nice to have family support. We also have Deborah. Say my name. That's what Deborah says. Sharon is in the building. Nice to see you, Sharon. Pretty Tings is always supporting. Thank you so much. All right. Pretty Ting says racism is what it's all about. All right, we're going to get to all of that today, but let's get started right away and see what's happening in regards to Benghazi. Yes, indeed. Let's get to it.
Morning. Morning. Good morning. On September 11th, 2012, Americans watched horrified as our embassy in Benghazi came under a vicious terror attack. We lost 4 American lives that day. Ambassador Chris Stevens, Sean Smith with the State Department, and 2 CIA contractors, Glenn Doherty and Tyrone Woods. We have never forgotten those heroes, and we have never stopped seeking justice for that crime against our nation. In fact, from day one, Cash and Dan would sit in meetings and say, we're going to get them. And they did. Today, I'm proud to announce that the FBI has arrested one of the key participants behind the Benghazi attack. Zubair al-Bakosh landed at Andrews Air Force Base at 3 a.m. this morning. He is in our custody. He was greeted by Director Patel and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro. Hillary Clinton famously once said about Benghazi, what difference at this point does it make? Well, it makes a difference to Donald Trump. It makes a difference to those families. And 14 years later, it makes a difference to law enforcement who made the difference in this case. Thank you, President Trump.
Guys, I think this is the 6th person that they have cleared off of the FBI most wanted list. This administration is going in. They even went in and pulled a president, a so-called president out of Venezuela. And by the way, I sat in court right behind Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores. So they're busy. They'll even come and get your president. Donald Trump is not playing games.
For supporting all of our agencies around the country and around the world. Al-Bakosh will now face American justice on American soil. We will prosecute this alleged terrorist to the fullest extent of the law. He'll face charges related to murder, terrorism, arson, among others.
Pretty things, please don't get it twisted. You support me, I'm going to support you all day. So look forward to that, believe it.
Let this case serve as a reminder. If you commit a crime against the American people anywhere in this world, President Trump's Justice Department will find you. It might not happen overnight, but it will happen. You can run, but you cannot hide.
Accordingly, right, the U.S. government, they went into Venezuela. People said they used some type of technology that caused people to freeze in time. Can you imagine that? And they said the heat was so unbearable that you couldn't even figure out what was happening. This United States government, and keep in mind, they had Russia, they had China, boots on the ground, and to no avail. So the United States is really kicking rear ends these days.
We are immensely grateful to our partners, especially at the State Department and the CIA, who lost lives in the Benghazi attack. Director Patel and the FBI agents did tireless work to track and arrest this man. I want to thank everyone standing behind me, all the agents who worked so great with our lawyers, with our...
And by the way, the president of Colombia, which is quite close with Venezuela, was saying, hey, Donald Trump, we're not worried about you. We're going to fight back. Don't make me get my military. Well, Donald Trump put the pressure on. He saw what happened to Nicolas Maduro. He's sitting here in New York in the confines of the same jail that Sean Diddy Combs was actually in. And now you see the president of Colombia come to the White House and said, oh, Mr. Trump, such a great guy.
National security lawyers and around the world to bring this terrorist to justice. And I have a statement to read from Director Radcliffe. He wanted to be here. He couldn't be here. He's busy protecting our world. He's deeply grateful for the relentless efforts of the Department of Justice and the FBI to bring justice to the individual allegedly responsible for the death of Americans in the horrific 2012 Benghazi attack. CIA and the nation will never forget the extraordinary services and sacrifices of Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty, who gave their lives in defense of others and exemplified the very best of our agency. I'd now like to turn it over to Director Patel for remarks, and I again want to thank him for his relentless work in this case.
Gosh. General, thank you. And I want to steal one of your lines. Never forget. Pam never forgot, the president never forgot, this FBI never forgot, and certainly U.S. Attorney Pirro never forgot. When an act of terrorism of this magnitude strikes at the heart of our nation, we go to work. President Trump has given us the full resources at the FBI and across the interagency to make sure we deliver justice. And Pam, you're right. Dan and I did sit down early on about this to bring justice, but you led the effort. You brought together the interagency. You said we are going to get this done because no one agency alone can do it. So we are thankful to have an Attorney General at the Department of Justice who works together with every single cabinet.
No worries, folks. We're going to get to the Epstein files. We do every day. Best believe that. Shout out to Travis. Welcome in. Make yourself at home.
Secretary, and enforce the law. What you saw today, and I want to get, or what you're going to see today, I want to address in a minute, but I want to remind the folks out there the work of this Department of Justice. We were here just a few short months ago talking about how we were going to raise the RFJ for another violent offender on the run, Ryan Wedding. And what did we do under Attorney General's leadership? And what did we do when President Trump said, go get the worst of the worst? We captured him. We captured together, under President Trump's leadership, 6 of the FBI's most wanted fugitives in 1 calendar year. To put that in perspective, that is 2 more than the entirety of the prior administration. And you cannot do that alone at the FBI. You have to have an Attorney General and a Department of Justice willing to prosecute, willing to go to the 4 corners of the earth and make sure we deliver justice. And that's what we're doing here today. I was at the airfield with U.S. Attorney Pirro earlier this morning when we did the formal foreign transfer of custody of Bakush into U.S. custody.
Now, I just want to take a moment. We have highly intelligent people here at Watching the World, but I want to make sure we're all in sync. Please do not get it twisted if you don't see what Donald Trump is really doing. If you go back in time, you would actually see where the attorneys down in Fulton County, They actually brought charges on Donald Trump, right? You saw what James Comey involved in Donald Trump's demise to some extent, trying to. John Bolton started talking about Donald Trump. Michael Cohen, right? Don Lemon talks about Donald Trump every day. And what's happening now? You see everybody taking on the heat, one by one. And when they asked Donald Trump, do you know anything about why Don Lemon was arrested or why John Bolton was arrested? Donald Trump says, oh, yeah, I think he's a criminal, but I don't know anything about it. So do you see how this is happening? It's happening right before us. And believe it or not, in Fulton County, which we're going to get to that as well, there's actually a sealed, right, charges. And you wonder who's going to be sitting in the hot seat. Who was it that went after Donald Trump in Fulton County? Let's see. Put it in the chat. The first person that state the person and the boyfriend gets $25. All you have to do is email me your Cash App.
To face prosecution under her auspices and her office, and the Department of Justice are going to execute justice for the fallen. As a young prosecutor at CTS, the National Security Division, I worked on the Benghazi case. This was very near and dear and personal to me. We lost 4 brave Americans in Chris, Sean, Kyle, and Steve, and we can never, ever, ever forget them, ever, and we will not. In order to put something like this together, it doesn't happen overnight. The FBI's hostage rescue team, the FBI's critical incident response group, our special flight operations unit, and countless others, along with the agents in the New York field office who never forgot Benghazi and never let the world forget it, endured over a decade to bring yet another terrorist who killed 4 Americans to justice. That is a relentless pursuit of mission that can...
Mackin, well, does he have a legitimate case? I don't think it really matters anymore. You know, I don't think a lot of these cases are really legitimate, but they're bringing on the cases. And what I find is, and what I often tell people, you may not get any time from the case, but by the time you pay this high caliber attorney, by the time you go sit in a jail cell for the night like Don Lemon, can you imagine? Do you think Don Lemon ever went to jail before? And they had him sitting in a cold cell somewhere, probably near a guy like Big Frank or some weirdness. You know what I mean? That's what the joke people often make. And now you have to pay for all the attorneys, and this is going to go on for some time, right? Sometimes it's about the journey. They just want to make your life a living hell.
Only happen when you have an interagency who's willing to get after it. I'm extremely thankful to the CIA and Director Ratcliffe and our other law enforcement partners for making sure that the world knows that if you kill an American citizen in an act of terrorism, we will hunt you down. We will bring you to justice, and you will face justice here in America, not in another court and not in any other proceeding around the world, but here. You killed our own, so we are going to take it to the streets to make sure you are held accountable. Once again, I'd really like to thank the entirety of the FBI, headquarters divisions. There are so many moving pieces to actually execute a foreign transfer of custody. And now we're talking about the 7th, the 3rd in just a couple of weeks. And I don't know if that has ever happened before in U.S. history. It's happening because President Trump backs the blue. President Trump has given law enforcement the resources we need to take the fight across the world. And the Attorney General has been relentless in her mission to make sure that these victims are remembered and that we bring them some semblance of peace by bringing those who killed their loved ones to justice. It's a little full circle for me. Yes, then Director Deputy Mangione and I did sit down and said, how are we going to get this guy? How are we going to find the individual responsible for the Benghazi attacks? And we sat down with Jeanine Pirro, and we sat down with the AG and her team and the Deputy Attorney General. And every single day, every single week.
Okay, guys, hit the like button, share, and subscribe to the channel. We do this every day, Monday through Friday, news at noon. So far, I haven't seen anyone post the attorney that brought the charges on Donald Trump along with the alleged boyfriend. So I need both of those names to be the winner.
We talked about how we would do it. And we're here today because we have an interagency that is led by superior individuals who have one shared goal: protecting America and our lives and our future. And to any others out there who wish to do harm especially commit acts of terrorism here and around the world, this is the feat you will meet. You will not be forgotten by us. We will chase you down. And it is a privilege and an honor to be the director of the FBI and come full circle for me, especially on this Benghazi case, especially with the families I know so well. And for me to you, the families, I just want to
Okay, from my vantage point, it looks like Jonathan is the winner, right? I believe so, but maybe Stella or New Jersey, and maybe you guys can substantiate that for me.
Let me say, I continue to pray for you. I hope that we can give you a little bit of peace in the utmost difficult of times when you've lost loved ones. And I just want to thank President Trump for delivering that peace and that modicum of justice. Thank you, Attorney General.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Director. And it's now my honor to introduce the woman who will be prosecuting this alleged terrorist, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro.
Thank you.
A lot of Fox News is actually working in the government nowadays, right? What do you guys think about that? They're running things.
Attorney General, 14 years ago, Americans watched in horror as a scene unfolded in a foreign land in one of the most dangerous places in the world for Americans, Benghazi, Libya. An American ambassador, elite military personnel, and a State Department employee were all violently murdered. For 13 hours, the American cavalry never came. For 13 hours, they waited for help that never came. Today, President Trump is making sure that American justice is coming for those individuals responsible for the deaths of those 4 Americans. Bakush is now on U.S. soil because of the President, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Kash Patel. The FBI, the Department of Justice, never forgot. There are prosecutors in this room right now who have been in the office for 13 years and have consistently handled this matter in this case. This department will never forget the seemingly forgotten in that outpost in Benghazi. Bakush was first charged by complaint in 2015, which was sealed for 11 years. An indictment, an 8-count indictment, has been unsealed, and it charges Bakush with the murder of Ambassador Chris Stevens, the murder of State Department employee Sean Smith, the attempted murder of State Department Special Agent Scott Wickland, and conspiracy to provide materials for terrorists and support that resulted in the death of 4 Americans, as well as arson at the special mission. I don't have to go through all of the facts, but every one of us remembers this case. I reported on it when I worked at Fox. I had relationships, as Kash Patel just said, with the families. And last night, as soon as they were in custody, because of Pam and because of Kash, we had a limited unsealing order from Judge Cooper that allowed me to speak to the family members to let them know that justice was coming for Bakush. I spoke with Sean Smith's mother, who I've known for years and have communicated with for years. I spoke with Tyrone Woods' widow, Dr. Dorothy Woods.
Whose administration did this attack happen under? Tell us.
I spoke with Ambassador Chris Stevens' family, as well as Glenn Doherty's brother, Greg, as well as his widow. These were people who never expected that justice would be coming. They never knew about the determination in this room and behind me, and the incredible work of the FBI along this case for years and years, because this was
all right, Dwayne, you're correct. Barack Obama. Thank you.
Something that mattered. The Benghazi saga was a painful one for Americans. It has stayed with all of us. And let me be very clear, there are more of them out there. Time will not stop us from going after these predators, no matter how long it takes, in order to fulfill our obligation to those families who suffered horrific pain at the hands of these violent terrorists. And now, I again want to tell everyone that American justice is here, that President Trump will make sure that the cavalry comes for Americans no matter where they are in this world. Thank you.
We'll take a few questions.
General, David? I'm looking, I have a on topic and an off topic. Sure. Tell us a little bit about how he was captured, where he was captured. Was he in jail for a while before? Was he at home? What can you tell us about how this all went down?
We're not going to give out a lot of the details, but I'm going to let Cash take what we can say.
Okay, so you get an idea of what's happening in regards to Benghazi. We definitely will keep you posted as to what happens in regards to this case. Now we're going to take a look at what's happening in regards to Haiti, but it has a strong effect on what's happening here in the United States. In fact, many people are starting to wonder, why are the Haitian people being so aggressively sought after? But you're going to be shocked by the next story. Let's get to it.
U.S. warships have now arrived off the coast of Haiti, drawing
Warships outside of Haiti.
National attention and raising questions about the timing of their presence. There is growing concern about Haiti's future and what the show of force could mean politically. Because of escalating gang violence, the situation on the ground almost changes by the minute.
Mama Flips, who was on last night, bless her heart, she's from Haiti, has heritage there. She feels like a lot of this has to do with racism. In fact, we had the vice president saying that the Haitian people were eating dogs and cats, folks. What in the world is going on? But anyway, let's get to it.
Scripture's national correspondent Katie Tubman is live for us in New York City. She has the latest on this. And Katie, what do we know about these warships?
Well, Del, several...
And by the way, we have over 300 people. Please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
U.S. warships deployed by the Trump administration arrived at the Bay of Port-au-Prince on Tuesday. And according to the U.S. Southern Command, these ships were sent at the direction of Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth as a part of Operation Southern Spear. That's the ongoing military campaign that's included numerous boat strikes targeting alleged drug traffickers in the region. The U.S. Embassy in Haiti posted on X that the presence of these warships demonstrates America's, quote, unwavering commitment to the security, stability, and a brighter future for the Republic of Haiti. And beyond their stated mission, the arrival of these ships is also seen as a strong message and a show of force during a significant political moment in Haiti. Del?
So, Katie, with regards to these particular warships...
Okay, so according to the message, they're trying to show strength for Haiti, right? Pay attention.
Ships. Do we know about that political movement? There's been rising political tensions for the past few weeks now. How does the deployment of these warships play into that?
That's right, there has been. And the deployment of...
And by the way, for all the people that come in and harassing our good folks here at Watching the World who are just enjoying the news and you're coming in being aggressive, we do not stand for that. The ladies will kick you out right on your head, because you do not get to sit on top of the mountain and tell who ate the cabbage. We're going to throw you and the cabbage out if you come in here being disrespectful to our dear girls. Thank you.
These ships comes just days before an important political deadline, Del, in Haiti, and that's Saturday, February 7th, the end of Haiti's transitional presidential council, which has been set up to lead the country until a new president was elected. But political tension increased just last month when the U.S. imposed visa restrictions on members of the council after they move to vote to remove the prime minister, the current prime minister, and ultimately defy calls from the U.S. for stability. And now, with worries about an eruption.
Everybody keeps saying that the Clintons took money from the Haiti people. What do you guys say about that? Is that just another conspiracy theory? Does anybody have any hard facts to present? Put it on the table.
Eruption of political chaos after this weekend. The warships appear to serve as a signal of U.S. support for stability amid Haiti's political uncertainty. Del?
Katie, just yesterday, we were talking about Haitian TPS, temporary protective status, the possibility that 350,000 immigrants would be forced to go back to Haiti. The government says the conditions are safe, But these warships seem to signal exactly the opposite of that.
That's right, they do. We're hearing from the Trump administration that it's safe enough for all hundreds of thousands of Haitian immigrants to go back to Haiti when really the political unrest and the violence there has continued. We heard from leaders in the Transitional Presidential Council even saying that it's unsafe for people to go back, that the country, can't possibly handle the surge of
Okay, Africa says it was Venezuela, now Haiti. Okay.
returnees, pointing to kidnappings, rapes, and other types of violence, such as schools being burned down and rampant gang violence still taking place in the country. And so even as we're hearing that the conditions are safe for people to go back, that is not being shown, particularly as warships are just off the coast of Haiti. Del?
Scripps News national correspondent.
Okay, so we get the idea. The stage is presented. Now, they say this is the reason why they're outside of Haiti, right? But let's put the whole picture together because we're quite smart here. But I want you to hold on. We have some other intriguing information here. I want you to focus on this as well.
This remains in place for hundreds of thousands of Haitians, at least for now. A federal judge blocking the Trump administration's termination just hours before the protection was set to expire.
And Haitians impacted breathing a sigh of relief, but left wondering what might come next. Good evening. I'm Jim Barry.
And I'm Lauren Pastrana. CBS News Miami's Yvonne Taylor is your reporter in Little Haiti, where the community is gathering tonight. Yvonne?
Jim and Lauren, that vigil is scheduled to take place right here at the Cultural Center in Little Haiti. It is the end of a day of concern, of relief, and that question, what comes up next for us? In fact, a couple of hours, members of this community, they address how they feel about the future and now in North Miami.
It's a sense of relief.
Farah Lariu has lived in the U.S. for over 20 years. She is one of the thousands of Haitians grateful a federal judge temporarily blocked the end of TPS for Haitians Monday night.
At least I have some time to continue to thrive, to continue with my life, but knowing that this is just temporary.
Lariu attended a press conference held by the Family Action Network movement, along with elected officials.
Was not just a legal victory. It was a victory for humanity, for families, and for justice.
After Miami-Dade Commissioner Marlene Bastien, who is Haitian American, spoke, the mayor of Miami-Dade County echoed the concern of many in the room.
Okay, Dwayne says she's been here 20 years. Why doesn't she have full citizenship yet? Okay, Pretty Thing says those are black folks in Trump eyes. It's a racist move and a part of his retribution presidency. All right. Sassy Mo says the system is definitely broken for those trying to become citizens. Okay, Nate says because she didn't do the paperwork like all others. So if this is a point of contention now, imagine if national voting, federal voting, is brought into effect. What is going to happen, folks?
This is a pause. This is not an end.
Daniela Levin Cava also highlighted the Haitian community's contribution to South Florida.
And as mayor of Miami-Dade County, I stand firmly alongside the Haitian community.
What was the place that Donald Trump referenced during his first presidency where he said these people are coming from shithole countries? Name some of those places.
According to Homeland Security, between 330 to 350,000 Haitians are covered under TPS in the U.S. 158,000 live in Florida.
We understand the decision still may be appealed, potentially reaching the Supreme Court. And if this case makes it to the Supreme Court, I pray that U.S. Supreme Court Justice Amy Cornette Barnett, who has 2 children that she adopted from Haiti, that she will answer the question, will you...
Okay, Nate says, was Trump lying? So it appears that you agree with that. All right.
Send your child back home to Haiti.
Back out live. You are looking at the Cultural Center where that vigil is scheduled to start at 6 p.m. In fact, in an hour, that's going to be one of the issues that we're going to be addressing on our 6 p.m. newscast. So what's up next now for the Haitian community? Should the ones with
Should a person, right, put a 1 in the chat if you think a person who came to this country illegally, right, if you think they should have rights, right, and health care and all the everything, put a 1 in the chat. Put a 2 if you think they should be sent back to their countries, respective countries, and start over and go through the proper channel. Let's see what everybody feels about this question.
TPS asked for an extension. Should they do something else? An expert has the answers, and that'll be at 6.
So on top of all of this that we just considered, I want to show you now what's happening to those individuals that are affected, right? 350,000 people. Now notice what they're experiencing here already, even though they haven't been pushed back out to their respective countries, namely Haiti.
Florida woman tells me she went with her husband, who is a TPS holder, to a local DMV to renew his driver's license, but he was turned away.
Haitians reliant on TPS now seeking answers.
Received at least a dozen calls about people asking, what can I do now?
Local advocate Jennifer Jones says since a federal judge blocked the Trump administration's plan to end TPS, there's been relief, but also uncertainty.
Until the administration can figure out exactly how to legally go about what they're trying to do, we're still in limbo.
The confusion involves the renewal of Florida driver's licenses. I spoke with a
New Jerseyan says, press thumbs up at the top of the screen. Thank you guys very much. Share and subscribe. Thank you.
woman over the phone who did not want to be.
It looks like everyone is basically in unison saying that it's the number 2, that they need to go back to their countries and start all over, come back into the country the proper way. This is the first time I've seen everyone in the chat who participate vote the same. That's quite interesting.
Identified.
Unfortunately, my husband was turned down.
She says her husband, a TPS holder, was one of many unable to renew on Wednesday.
The state of Florida did not give them authorization to renew licenses, regardless of the court order that is in place.
I reached out to the.
It looks like the Trump administration wants these people to feel agitated, frustrated, and perhaps they'll just self-deport. You kind of get this feeling. But remember, Joe Biden made it possible for a lot of these individuals to come to the United States under a program. And now the next administration says, goodbye, we want you out of here. And even though things are stalled right now, it just makes it so hard. Like when you look at China, and I'm not saying that China is better than the United States, but they have a 100-year plan. In the United States, the plan is dependent upon the administration that has the White House at the time. So right now we have everything is red, right? Now, coming up this year, we have the midterm elections. People are really expecting the Democrats to take hold of government again. And the first order of business for the Democrats is to impeach Donald Trump, get him out of here and lock him up. That's what they really want, right? And then if we get a Democratic president the next go round, now they spend a lot of time trying to undo what Donald Trump did. Then we get another Republican in, then they're trying to undo what the Democrats did. We're fighting. We have to understand, hey, are you a Republican? All day long when I'm on live and trying to stream, people are saying, oh, you must be a Democrat. Oh, you must be a Republican. And depending on the answer, depends on the box that they want to put me in, right? What a shame that this is how we operate. And how can a country really succeed when we're so divided? I wonder if a lot of this division actually stems from other places such as Russia and China, because they figure conquer is in place when the people are divided, right?
Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles and the governor's office seeking answers on why renewals are being denied, and I'm waiting to hear back. Jones says there's no clear direction.
Without a federal decree stating that it must be extended or renewed, states are not obligated to honor the stop of termination.
And it's impacting families.
And so they can't drive themselves to work, drop off their kids in school. They're feared that if they do drive and they get pulled over without a valid driver's license, they can be ticketed.
The Trump administration has continued to criticize the judge's decision, saying TPS is not permanent. Meanwhile, many are hoping for an extension of their asylum and the ability to safely move around.
So I just pray that, the state, the DMV has something to say about this.
In West Palm Beach.
And allow people.
Well, the heat is on for these individuals. It must be quite frustrating, but that's the nature of life, and so it is. Now we're going to look into what's happening today. Luigi Mangione has a last-minute court appearance today.
Well, Luigi Mangione expected to be brought into state court this morning, and the reason not yet known, but it does come after a big win.
Let's take a moment, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. For those of you who may not be familiar with Luigi Mangione, he has 2 trials here in New York. He has also one in Pennsylvania once he's done in New York. One of the cases in New York is a state trial. The second one is a federal trial where he was facing the death penalty, but that is off the table. I was recently in court last week, and the judge ruled that he does not have to face the death penalty. But today, he's back in court for the state case because as I've sat through court for both of these different proceedings, the attorneys really want the state case to happen first and then the federal case. The reason why he has a federal case is because he committed this crime allegedly, but he crossed over state lines, okay? Excuse me. So today I will be reporting to let you know what happens in court in regards to Luigi Mangione. But let's get back to it.
For Mangione's defense in his federal trial, the judge in that case ruling that Mangione cannot face the death penalty. So he was not expected in state court until this spring, where the judge said he would make a ruling on whether the backpack found by police could be entered in as evidence.
So I actually sat through court. I'll just give you a little brief rundown. For the state case, they brought in all of the officers, or most of them, that were engaged in the arresting of Luigi Mangione. In the state case, the big point of contention was the backpack that he had on him, which eventually they found it had a gun. It also had his journal, which they tried to call a manifesto. Okay, so will the judge rule? Because when I was in court on that day for the state case, the judge said that we would be back in court where he would make his ruling by March, I believe, the 18th. So now I'm wondering, did the judge make a decision? And that's what's going to be presented today in court. But this is what's happening just for the state case. The federal case is much different, and it seems to be more organized than the state case.
Randy Zellin, criminal defense attorney and former New York City prosecutor, joins us now to weigh in. Randy, thank you very much. So we don't know exactly why, as reported, this scheduled meeting is taking place. But last time in court, the judge was hearing arguments regarding whether or not the contents of Mangione's backpack should be allowed in court. So
Sassy Mo makes a good point. It really boils down to the rich versus the poor. So it's not really the Republican or the Democrat. It's more about how much money you have. And now we're starting to see with the Epstein files that when you have endless money, when you're a billionaire, look at all the terrible things that these people were doing, right? And no one is really pulling them to the carpet. They go after a guy like Don Lemon, but when it comes to the Epstein files, they can't even find reasons to charge these guys. Is it because they had the money? And is that justice on a worldwide scale? Now we start to see maybe perhaps why Donald Trump withheld these files for so long, because there's so many people. In fact, I think the average American, average person throughout the world is starting to see, is there really justice? Because there is a point where people have so much money that they could be, it appears that they are above the law, right?
in that backpack, of course, the alleged manifesto, the silencer as well. Do you believe that the hearing today could be the judge's decision?
Certainly that is possible, but I think what's really going on here, there is a race going on. The state prosecutors, and justifiably so, would like their case to be tried before the federal case. The state case is one that, if the federal case goes first, it's going to, first of all, derail the timing of the state case. It's going to be it's going to be mechanically more difficult because now Mr. Mangione will have to continue to be brought from federal custody into state custody. It creates complications in terms of sentencing and where he does his time. So the state prosecutors want to say to the judge, hey, listen, the death penalty is off the table right now in federal court. 2 counts have been dismissed. We're ready to go. Let's speed up our trial date so our trial date comes in ahead of the federal trial date.
All right. Yeah, and that sequence, it does have a major impact on what plays out next. So I appreciate you highlighting that. The federal trial decided to proceed with the contents of his backpack being allowed. Does that influence the state's decision?
Well, certainly the state judge.
I just want to explain the difference between the federal versus the state trial. When I attended the federal proceeding, which was right after the state, the judge in the federal proceeding basically explained it this way. In Altoona, Pennsylvania, where they actually arrested Luigi Mangione, with the state, they put a lot of focus on the backpack because the defense wanted to have it thrown out because they're saying you did not have the right to search his backpack. You waited over 20 minutes to read him his rights. So these are strong arguments. When we attended the federal case, the judge, and I believe it's the same judge that when I attended Drake's trial against Kendrick Lamar, it was more of the music label. But at any rate, she put it out this way. In Altoona, whenever a person is brought into the precinct, there are memos in place, procedures in place to search their items, take an inventory, so that a person couldn't come back maybe 2 or 3 weeks later and say, hey, you stole my Movado watch or my smartphone or whatever it is, right? She also led everybody to understand that at some point a warrant was pulled and that the prosecutors are not focusing on what happened at McDonald's. They took McDonald's totally off the table pretty much for the federal proceeding. And so with all that basically being said, they're saying, listen, we eventually got a warrant, and under that warrant, we would have found this gun. We would have found his journal that basically had some incriminating thoughts, ideas, right? So that's the big difference here with the federal case. It looks like it's more on track to try to throw the book at Luigi Mangione for this unalived of Brian Thompson.
Is going to look at the basis for the federal denial of suppression, not necessarily being bound by that. We're talking about federal case law versus.
Okay, let's see here. Sassy Mo says, Trump is in those files. He has always been a predator. Look up how many families of children he settled out of court with in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Okay, a lot of people are not thinking so highly of Donald Trump. Okay.
State case law, but of course the overriding question here is, and I think a lot of your viewers are left wondering, how is it that one person can be charged twice for the same offense conduct? How is it that it's not double jeopardy? In other words, the Fifth Amendment says you can't be tried twice for the same offense. And the difference here is you've got what's called dual sovereignty. You've got 2 sovereigns. You've got a federal sovereign and you've got a state sovereign, which is why.
Remember, guys, when I have Calvin Johnson, the criminal defense attorney, on Sunday, I would often ask him and Candace Kelly, how can they charge him twice in New York? How can he have a state and a federal case going at the same time? So this is kind of addressing that.
Mr. Mangione can be tried twice based upon the same offense conduct.
Yeah, and I wanted to dig into that because the defense is expected to raise double jeopardy concerns. But many analyzing this say this isn't because they necessarily think they're going to win that argument, but it is a strategic move. Would you agree?
Oh, that's so amazing of you, Kennedy. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for the super chat. You're far too kind. Thank you. You're so amazing.
Everything that you do when you are preparing as a defense attorney in a criminal trial is to create as much conversation.
And by the way, you're welcome.
You want the prosecutors explaining their case, divulging evidence, giving away their theories to the extent that you can have witnesses testify. You want those witnesses to testify or to provide declarations because that creates potential impeachment material. If that person gets on the witness stand at the trial and says something even just a tiny bit different than what was previously said in testimony or in a declaration, you can impeach that witness. So yes, oftentimes.
So I will be attending this trial, no doubt about it, both of them. I'm also covering Nicolas Maduro, so many other cases coming through. Carmelo Anthony out of Texas as well. So stay tuned if you'd like to learn more. I'm currently covering the Alexander brothers, who has a similar case to Sean Diddy Combs that I covered his case for 9 weeks. Oftentimes I'm in the main courtroom sitting right behind the defendant. I sat right behind Sean Diddy Combs, Donald Trump, all of these individuals. Being able to observe them under these very stressful moments, and also hearing all the things, the details, as witnesses come into the courtroom one by one to state their claim and what happened to them. There's something awfully sad. In fact, I've actually met the daughter here in New York in regards to media and court, but her mother, Nancy, has gone missing, and we're going to get to that right now. We're going to try to understand from the former FBI agent what's happening here with Nancy Guthrie. Thank you.
Welcome back. Breaking news overnight. Savannah Guthrie's brother, Cameron, making an urgent plea for his mother, Nancy's return, as the search now is entering day 6.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you.
I'm not sure how many likes we have, but guys, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel tremendously.
And we are waiting for contact.
The FBI is offering a $50,000 in a reward for any information leading up to the discovery of the 84-year-old.
So put a 1 in the chat if you think this is an inside job involving a family member. Put a 2 in the chat if you think it's a complete stranger or someone maybe from the neighborhood. But tell us what you think. Is it an inside job or not?
Nancy Guthrie. The Pima County Sheriff's Office says that they believe Guthrie is still out there. That's what the sheriff said yesterday. But he claimed that he still doesn't have a suspect or a person of interest. The first ransom deadline passed. That was yesterday at 5 o'clock. And a second, what we understand is a, quote, more consequential deadline, is coming up on Monday at 5 o'clock. Here's the FBI special agent in charge. FBI has been getting much more involved. Watch.
We are aware of a ransom letter that was sent to the local media and then to national outlets. We have made 1 arrest related to an imposter ransom demand, and a complaint will be presented to a magistrate judge later today.
So far, with all the answers, most people feel like it's an inside job in the family. Wow.
The ransom itself, one talked about an Apple Watch and one talked about a floodlight. The ransom note that was distributed to the media did make a demand for 5 p.m. today. And if a transfer wasn't made, then I think a second demand was for next Monday.
Joining me now is former FBI special agent. She is Fox News contributor Nicole Parker. Nicole, thanks very much for weighing in. And I know you've been covering this as close as anyone these last couple of days. Does it seem to you, based on what we've learned, that this is a one-man operation, multi-people going in there, abducting Nancy? How does it feel to you, Nicole?
That's a great question. That's a question that I have as well. This appears to be highly orchestrated, quite sophisticated, and I would be very anxious to see what the answer to that question is. It might be difficult for one person to pull this off, but again, they had 45 minutes based on the timeline. It was approximately 45 minutes from the time that the doorbell camera was disabled to the time that her pacemaker stopped syncing to her devices. And so that is very telling. That's, not much.
So pay attention that the doorbell was disabled. They give you the time frame for that, right? But notice what they say next.
Time to do a lot of damage, and it's absolutely heartbreaking, heart-wrenching what this family is going through. But it's so important to look at these ransom emails. The family has now tried to communicate to the offender twice. Savannah and her sister came out, the siblings came out, and then just last night, Cameron came out independently with another communication asking the offender, please communicate with us, talk to us, please. We need proof of life. So far, nothing. And something that I think is interesting is normally, again, typically, not always, you will hear back within about 24 hours, something of this case, 24.
Did you guys notice that they said for the press conference, I believe the camera was deactivated earlier, but then they detected someone on the camera after the fact? Like how is that happening if the camera was deactivated?
48 hours. But it has been radio silence, and I don't think that's a coincidence because they know that law enforcement is all over them, and any form of communication that they give right now will give more clues and evidence to law enforcement to track them down. And again, it's unusual also to see a two-tier deadline. The first deadline was 5 p.m. last night, and then now it's another deadline of Monday. That is highly unusual for a case like this.
Yeah, and you mentioned Savannah's sister, Ann. We have video of Ann's home. Ann is married to Tomas.
Do you guys think that whoever is responsible basically maybe put out this ransom letter just as a distraction to send police on a wild goose chase to cover up from their more sinister idea or role in regards to the lady?
Also, when the sheriff was asked who dropped...
Pretty Ting says the cardiologist should be able to go into her file and see what her pacemaker is doing. A great point. You should be the eye detective. Thank you.
Nancy off after they had dinner. Apparently she had dinner with Ann on the 31st. The sheriff said, well, we're just...
Jane says, yep, they can look at her cardiac rhythm. Thank you.
Going with quote-unquote family. So they wouldn't release who exactly dropped Nancy off after dinner. Was it Ann and Tommaso? Was it somebody else? I mean, she took an Uber to meet them, and Ann lives 10 minutes away from Nancy, and she took an Uber for a 10-minute ride. You mentioned something interesting there. You said that there was 45 minutes or 40 minutes from the time the camera was disabled to the time that the pacemaker dropped off, meaning that she was out of the house.
You know, I do this every day, and people come in for like 5.2 seconds. Some of them say, oh, my God, how does this guy live with himself? He's a Trump supporter wearing a hat and a suit, right? So they come in. They don't understand my makeup, the channel. But then the people who follow all the time, they understand my position, right? I'm very neutral. Then we get a guy like Caprello, who was here last night. He comes in today. He's saying, oh, let me guess, Trump's wrong again. So you see, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. I just do my thing. And that's the art of this life. I do my dance whether people like it or not. And that's why here at Watching the World, we try to stick to the facts and we try not to judge people. I can sit here all day long and point out things that Donald Trump has done right. And I'll speak on it whether people love it or hate it. I can also tell you some things I'm not happy that Donald Trump has done, right? That's just my opinion. Probably doesn't amount for a whole lot. I could tell you the same thing about Barack Obama and Joe Biden. But here's the key to this thing. We need to take a little bit more time to understand what's happening before we go to judgment and start yapping off on people. That's what I would just encourage more people to do. It's almost like the school bus effect when the kids are just going crazy and calling names and they don't even have a clue of how the bus operates or where the destination is going to be, right? And that's what I was talking about in the case of Jay-Z and Eminem. All of these people are talking about them over headlines. They haven't even read the Epstein files. Most of these people that are just talking, right, and not realizing that some of these items are just tips that someone randomly called in who could have been high off of weed or anything else, right? But it takes more information before we start trying to build a picture about people and talking about them, and we don't have our facts together. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
What? That's a long time to be in the house. I mean, you're talking about an 84-year-old woman. You know, how much pushback could have you have gotten from an 84-year-old woman? You know, that doesn't take 45 minutes, I imagine. So what do you suspect was going on in that house for 45 minutes?
Right, it's very difficult to know. You know, just based on my investigative experience, there could have been quite a struggle going on. I mean, I understand.
Yes, Capello, that was the lady last night, but we are separate people, so you can't just hold me to the water for something someone else said or what someone else ate. Thank you.
This is a very strong-willed woman, and we don't know the condition that she was in when she left the home or was.
Guys, my birthday is on Monday, so I'm in rare form, as Deborah said, so you might get more of my pushback today because my time has come. My little moment of Monday. Happy birthday to me. I made it another year. Well, I have to get to Monday, but it looks like all is said and well. Thank you guys for all the support. I'm so happy about this moment, and I hope I'm blessed with many more years so I can stay here talking my talk, walking my walk. Thank you.
Forced out of her home. We just
Well,
don't
maybe
know
he was
a lot
cleaning
about
up
that.
evidence. I mean, maybe he used the time to clean up evidence.
Exactly. There could be a lot going on in that home. And that's why I think it's interesting that the locals, you know, release the crime scene so quickly. And again, the FBI comes in and says, no, we're going to come in and do our own investigation. And I know that the FBI is carrying a lot of weight right now. They're doing a lot of work. They're, you know, investigating the ransom.
That's right, Deborah. Mama Flips is invited on this show every Thursday night. She has a right to. You know what the reason why I like about, I don't want to take it away from the show, but I'm going to talk my talk today. The reason I like Mama Flips is because a lot of people, and I let everybody speak what they want to say, and you can have your opinion. But sometimes I see these guys on all these other channels. They're out here talking bad about women. They have this whole Epstein mentality. They want to go out here and take advantage of somebody's daughter. Not only that, when I went to this case this week with the Alexander brothers, the girls are receiving drinks, knocking them out cold. They're waking up and guys are doing all these terrible things to them, right? This is very deplorable. We also have guys coming in from all these different countries, even in the United States, but they're using the N-word and they're trying to make this cool, very derogatory. So then you have the little pipsqueak sitting over there eating his cabbage, and all he does every day is talk about black people in a terrible way. So it's beautiful to have a strong woman come on, such as Mama Flips, and talk her talk, right? And, you know, it's a little bit aggressive, but it's only one night, and it's your prerogative, like Bobby Brown's song, it's your prerogative if you want to come in and check it out, right? We're not imposing it. We're not knocking on your door trying to say, hey, listen, I have Mama Flips. Can we come in and have a tea with you and tell you what a jerk you are? No, that's not what we're doing here. You have a right to come in, but I think it's beautiful to let her do her thing and talk her talk.
Some note, the banks, the finances, the social media accounts, the phone companies, the digital footprint. But let's go back to Annie Guthrie real quick, because that's extremely important. Was it normal for
Thanks for the happy birthday, Jane.
For Nancy to go to Annie's house? Does she go there quite frequently on a Saturday night for dinner? Was it normal for her to take Ubers? I know that the FBI and law enforcement is looking very closely at her Uber patterns and even specifically speaking to the Uber driver. Was it normal for a family member to drop her off afterwards? And was it just the brother-in-law? Was Annie also in the car? Were there any family quarrels going on? Were there any discussions about finances, any wills that were being discussed? Again, the law enforcement will rule out absolutely nothing. But I also think it's important from an investigative perspective, the pacemaker. We know that the heart rate, you can measure that on the pacemaker. I would be interested to know, was there any substantial heart rate activity on that car ride? Were there any sort of,
Caprella, I would be okay with asking her to see if she wants to debate you, namely Mama Flips, but just be mindful to treat her like a lady. Thank you.
Anomalies in her heart rate during the time that she was picked up for dinner and the time that she was dropped off for dinner, and then obviously at the time of the, assault. So it's going to be very interesting. Those are the types of things, Maria. Law enforcement's getting into granular detail.
Okay, Pretty Ting says, I love Mama Flips live on the show. If you could have her on twice a week, I like it. So See, Mama Flips have supporters.
Right now, they've got to dig deep to determine what exactly happened. But looking at the family, they said, we will rule no one out at this time.
Right. And he was asked specifically about family members. The sheriff was asked yesterday about family members, and he said, we're not ruling anybody out. You make a good point about the will. I had not thought about the will. Yeah. Nicole, thank you. We're going to keep following all of this, and we so appreciate your involvement here.
Okay, all right. So we're going to wrap up now with the last story of today. It's a story that affects me here in New York City. But would you believe with the new mayor that they just installed? It goes back to the governor. The governor said we need to get the homeless people off the street. No doubt about it, get them off the street. The new mayor, it appears, had a different frame of mind, a different idea about it, even though going back even before Giuliani, because a lot of the individuals who are homeless, sometimes they have mental illness issues or whatever reason, they don't want to come in off the cold street, right? So the city of New York will force their hand. But 13 people at least have lost their lives from the cold. Think about that. 13 people that have lost their lives. This has not happened in New York in quite some time. Let's get to it.
As we go into the weekend, New Yorkers, they're frustrated about all the piles of snow still sticking around the city 5 days after the storm. Let's get out to News 4's Andrew Siff live in Elmhurst. Andrew, I understand you just got some information just coming in.
Yeah, within the last few minutes, City Hall has confirmed that the number of deaths now under investigation as cold weather related since the start of the storm now up to 13. It was 10 at the start of the day, now 13. And as a result, the Mamdani administration stepping up efforts tonight. They are opening up what they're calling a new low barrier entry shelter. They're also sending ambulettes directly to homeless individuals on the street to try to get them indoors more quickly.
13 people, folks.
Quickly. This as more weather-related developments all across New York City. People still trying to dig out their cars. The MTA dealing with a power cable that bent but did not break.
There's an element to Mama Flips. I see people really going off in the chat. There's an element of entertainment with her as well. So, don't get too ruffled on your feathers about it. At the end of the day, I think everything we do here is quite respectful. Sometimes she gets carried away, but it is what it is, folks.
MTA workers in Cypress Hills, Brooklyn, pulling a support rope, trying to lift a heavy communications cable that had dangled down from the elevated train trestle when fastener clips snapped in the...
Okay, Brian. Brian says we need 16 likes to get to 100. Thank you. Brian is really pushing these likes like crazy. Thank you, Brian.
Cold. Subway service unaffected, but the drooping cable smacked into a row of cars.
Well, the crazy thing is that it's unexpected right now, so I'm not sure what's going on.
What's going on is 5 days after the storm, the aftermath continues. Trash collection delayed by hours or even days in some neighborhoods, with sanitation crews still working overtime on snow removal.
I hope you fix it, Mandani, okay?
Other New Yorkers more forgiving of the government response after the worst snowstorm in years.
I think they're handling it quite well, to be honest.
Then there are drivers still struggling to get to or move their cars.
Yeah, I haven't been able to drive.
Why not?
I can't get my car out. I'm just worried I won't find parking when I get back home.
Mayor Zohran Mamdani today trying to focus on progress. He says sanitation teams have cleared 18,000 crosswalks and nearly 13,000 bus stops, and that huge snow melters have dissolved 43 million pounds of snow.
This cold is persistent. I was in New York yesterday. It's a nightmare just trying to navigate around. Did you guys see when I went to cover the nurses at Mount Sinai Hospital up in Harlem about 2 weeks ago? And I had to climb up those steep stairs, right? And you saw the ice on the steps. And when I was coming back down, you saw the young guy fall and pretty much bust the back of his head. It was crazy. Imagine some people have to go this route every day just to get home. There's a lot of daycares. There's schools in the area. Just imagine like all of these people having to struggle.
Consistent, the snow is stubborn and this danger is real.
But the brutal cold has already led to 10 deaths, prompting this advice.
That number has gone up, by the way, since the airing of this broadcast.
Into the weekend.
Stay inside. When they see someone who is outside who needs assistance, do call 311. The call will be rerouted to 911.
All right. So there you have it, folks. That's it for today as far as the stories that we want to cover. I'm so grateful for all of you guys who took the time to wish me a happy birthday for my big day on Monday. I look forward to, I'll still be on at some point, believe that. It's in my blood now. But no big plans, but some good plans. But I look forward to my next year, not necessarily your year, it's my year because it starts on Monday. I look forward to trying to mend with people because we have so much hatred in the United States and throughout the world. So many people are caught up on this Democrat Republican thing. It's a terrible situation. Like if they find out that you're a Democrat, or if another person, if you're not a Republican, or if you don't support Trump, or if you do support Trump, automatically people close the door. And it gets out of control because in many cases, people want to actually do harm to other individuals who do not think the same as they do. Last night, when Mama Flips was on, we got into this major biblical discussion about the Bible. And then that opens another door for disagreements and heartache. So now we have this whole thing of navigating Democrat or Republican. Now there's another layer of whether or not you believe in Jesus or Jehovah or God. And if you say you're an atheist, oh my, death to you. You should die right now, you know. There are people who elevate at the idea of non-believers to their religion going to hell. What a sad world we live in. So we have this layer of politics, then you have religion too. Or what about black and white? Oh my. Or a little bit of here, where you're from. It goes on and on. So we're navigating all of these different roads just to figure out if we want to unite with the person or try to have a reasonable discussion. And this is the issue that we have, but I'm so happy that here we have people coming together. For the most part, we can have healthy discussions. I know Thursday night is a little bit different. Mama Flips has her strong views. It's okay. But for the most part, we're talking about watching the world as a whole. It's nice that people come together and are able to have a reasonable discussion. I see a lot of the comments, mostly I probably see about 70% at times, right? And people come in for like 5 seconds and they try to tell you what your whole life has been about, who you are, just by looking at you. We really have to find a way to get to know people at a different level before we try to judge them. The other thing is I covered Sean Diddy Combs' trial, and I learned so much because what I realized is that people are just covering stories only, for most part, just to be paid. We live in a world where people get paid for clicks, likes, all of these things, and if a person is having trouble paying their bills, and the only way to get more money is to get more clicks, oftentimes you'll find that these people start making up stories about people that are not even true. And a lot of times, even the legacy media, they do not report the truth. They report what they're being directed to report. So it's really hard to understand life if you're following the media a lot. Sometimes it depends on whether you listen to Fox versus CNN. These people have a completely different reality in life, right? Now, let's take it to a whole different league and start talking about AI. We have bots, right, that come into the chat. And if you don't understand how these bots work, it's really tied to AI. And it's a shame because you think you're actually dealing with a person, A lot of times you can identify the bots in the chat because they're going to say things about the appearance. That's what I've learned from doing this for quite some time now, right? But it's hard to decipher what's real and what's fake. And that's a real big problem. And if you have children, just imagine a lot of them are being born into this reality that is not even real at all. I saw a presentation. I'm going to do a deep dive about this, but they have bots now that are so sophisticated that they're trying to figure out how they can shut down humans. This is real. If you don't believe me, you could easily do the research. Some of these bots have created their own religion, right? And I think they've, in one case, I saw they made a person very similar to Jesus, and I think they called him Cruste, and they call the religion the crustaceans. This is real documented facts. Like, what is the world coming to when we have AI in the mix when humans don't even want to tell the truth? So we have some very difficult roads ahead, and people will say, well, don't be fear mongering. It's not about fear mongering. It's about planning ahead. When you can see certain things coming along the way and you can prepare for it, that's a big part of putting yourself in a better position, right? When you can see the calamities coming and then you can step back and probably protect yourself and your family if you're wise enough. So I say all of that to say it's beautiful that we can come together and try to have some reasonable understanding, but we cannot allow people to just come into our lives and not want to be truthful, right? But that's more on a personal level. But we're wise to just take people for what they are instead of judging them so readily that we see these days. I'm so shocked at all of these cases when I go to court, sometimes especially like with the Alexander brothers. I'm seeing the exact same repeat, similar to what I saw at Sean Diddy Combs' case and other cases as well. But it seems like all of these situations are in some way now we're finding out they're connected with Epstein. Isn't that something that there's a connection? There's the Alexander brothers, it came up in court the other day that they're connected. I'm not saying that they did something wrong, but they are mentioned in the Epstein files. And the judge ordered that part of the files be removed from the public so it doesn't affect their case in a negative way. But why is the young generation so tied into the same behavior of abusing women and also women abusing men? What is the world coming to, right? It's something to think about. At any rate, thank you guys for tuning in today. I don't want to go off on this long speech. But I will say we really need to understand what's happening in the world. And sometimes you try to approach people from a righteous manner. It doesn't mean that they have the same regards for you. And so that's why it's important to teach your children and help them to understand too, so that they can have a better shot at this life. And also at the same time, protect themselves and elevate. Because sometimes what I'm seeing in court with the Alexander case, from what the witnesses are saying, they were just enjoying a party and a guy came along that invited them to the party and gives them a drink. And the next thing you know, they don't even know what planet they're on. Something to think about, right? It's very disheartening. It's tough to sit in on some of these cases because you start to realize just how evil some of these people can be. And we see it so much in abundance with the Epstein files. It's not even funny. And the worst part about it, we have people sitting in high places who are so involved in the Epstein files. Like, what is this all about? Well, we don't know, but we continue to cover it here at Watching the World. And I really do appreciate each and every one of you, especially the ones who come back on a regular basis. And I have the amazing chance to get to know. So thank you very much. We'll be back on Sunday night at 7 p.m. with Calvin Johnson, the criminal defense attorney, to talk about some of the news stories from a legal perspective. Thank you so much and have a good weekend. We'll see you on Sunday. Thank you.
Different voices, but the same song. Building a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the flame remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.